Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's CJ. Let's go ahead and jump into this update. And the topic for this video is going to be maintenance. Now, I know it's not something that's glamorous or as exciting. Drama filled as my display, as far as corals killing each other and, livestock eating each other and all that stuff. But I figured it was time to go ahead and share this video for anyone that thought I put all my time in my display and none of my time and efforts into my, maintenance routine and my sump. Definitely not true. So we're going to cover a little bit of my routine. My RODI unit's coming up on a year old. We're going to check that out. We're going to check out a few pieces of equipment that I'm thinking about removing. And we're also going to take a look at the algae scrubber. I've never really shared with you guys my routine as far as keeping it clean, keeping it running good and, keeping my nutrients low in my reef tank. So with that being said, I'm going to quit dragging this out. Let's go ahead and get with this update. So for anyone that's new to my channel, or, you may be curious on what this is, it's a black box with this green stuff in it. This is what we call a nano algae scrubber. Now this is actually created by Santa Monica Filtrations. I did an unbox and install video a few months ago. Go check it out for all the details. But, we're going to cover this a little later in the vid. We're going to clean it out and I'm going to show you exactly what I do to make sure this thing keeps working and keeps growing this good old green stuff like I need it to. So I'm not going to give you guys my official review on it yet because there's a few other things I'm going to do to test this out. I'm going to update you guys on that for sure, I promise you. But for now, the getting's green, the getting's good, and I'm really enjoying the growth. So let's keep it moving. We'll come back to this later. Now let me go ahead and take you guys where all the magic happens for my reef tank. My magic, I'm talking about water. Trust me, without a good water source, never gonna make it far in the saltwater hobby. I can promise you that. Now for those who have an expensive, water change station, brute trash cans, all that good stuff, don't judge me. Promise you, I'm just a guy with a cell phone, bathroom sink, a 5-pound weight to hold everything in place, and a bulk reef supply, 4-stage, 75-gallon per day RODI system. So, I'm not doing it big. I'm just trying to make it in the hobby. Now, with that being said, I do have some good news for you guys. And the good news is, I've been running this thing for over a year and a half almost, and I have not had to change anything yet. And by change anything, I'm referring to the sediment filter, carbon block, or the DI resin. It has not exhausted yet, which honestly has me completely, befuddled and surprised and all of the above, almost to the point to where I didn't believe it. So for those of you all that are wondering the same thing I was thinking, we're going to go through and test my water here in a moment. But for those that are curious, you may know what you're looking at already. Or if you don't know what you're looking at, it's a TDS meter that's attached to the unit. Measures the total dissolved solids coming into the DI resin and coming out of the DI resin. Now this is important because it lets you know when your stuff's expired. And as you guys can tell, I'm getting 2 coming into the resin and 0 coming out, which is fantastic. Pretty much lets you know my RODI unit is functioning as it should have, or as it should be over a year later. Now, another thing that's a good sign is my pressure. It's been 80 PSI, 80 to 85 PSI the entire time or the entire life I've had this thing hooked up, and it hasn't dropped yet. So, either my water pressure is high enough to push through the sediment filter when it needs to be replaced, or, I can keep buying my time a little while longer. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. Now, I will tell you this. I'm pretty much at the point of wanting to replace it anyways. I've been waiting. I have my replacements already. My resin, I have extra resin. I have another sediment filter carbon block. And I'm probably going to go ahead and replace it anyways. But I just want to share this with you guys before I do. For those that may not believe it, my resin is only a third of the way used over a year and a half worth of use, which is fantastic. Well worth the money. That just lets me know right then and there that this is a great investment. So with that being said, let's go ahead and check it out. Let's test chloramines, let's test TDS, let's compare it to tap water. Let's see if I really can make it a little while longer without replacing anything in this unit. So the first test we're going to run is double checking the TDS meter's accuracy. Now I say accuracy because, nothing's ever 100%, but if you have 2 different instruments to measure the same thing and you get the same result, I'll take that any day. So that's pretty much what I did. Run some clean RODI water in a glass, use my portable meter, got 0, so we can keep moving to the next test. So test number 2, gonna be fairly easy to do. What I'm looking for is to make sure that my carbon block's still working. So the best way to do this, check my wastewater line and make sure there's no kind of leaching or any kind of sign of chlorine showing. If anything shows up, I'm going to replace that immediately. But as you can tell, it's zeroed out. So fantastic. We're 2 for 2. Everything's looking good. Let's keep it moving. Now for accuracy's sake and just for my own peace of mind, honestly, I did double check the results against normal tap water, and if everything's going according to plan, and there should be a huge discrepancy. And as you can tell, definitely a huge difference. Tap water's on the right, RODI water's on the left, so we're all good. Now I also repeated this same process with my TDS meter. So this is straight tap water from the sink, running a TDS around 190 to 195 from what I can tell. So that further lets me know that my RODI unit's doing a good job, reducing that all the way down to 0 and giving me that nice clean water for my reef tank. So mission accomplished. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick look behind the tank. Now keep in mind, I removed the algae scrubber protein skimmer to kind of give you guys a clear view and look all the way down to the bottom. And as you can tell, all kinds of stuff back there. Now keep in mind, I've been running filter trays and filter floss in this tank from day one, and I'll explain to you how this stuff actually got back there here in a moment. But I'm showing you this for a different reason. I'm just trying to encourage anyone with an all-in-one tank, especially JBJs, to not neglect your sump area. Keep in mind, everything that overflows back here stays back here. If you don't suck it out, it's gonna break down. It's gonna cause nutrient issues. It's gonna cause you phosphate, nitrate issues, algae issues, just issues all the way around. So more of the story is siphon out your sump as much as possible, keep it clean as much as possible, and give yourself a chance to be successful for a longer period of time. At least that's my plan, and I'll let you guys know if it works for me, but I think it's a good start. So you guys may be wondering, how did that much stuff get back there to begin with? Trust me, it had nothing to do with my filter floss not working. It had more to do with the design flaw with the JBJ. Take a look at the back wall. This is what it looks like with the cover removed. You see the overflows, you see the weir, you see, the central chamber where the pumps go at, and you also see 3 small holes in the rear wall. Focus there because that's what we're going to talk about. So when I first started my tank, I thought these holes were a good idea. I'm thinking they were there to make sure the pumps didn't run dry. Little did I realize I should have did something about this to begin with, because these things have a ton of back pressure. Enough to where it's damn near a full siphon from the display. And I've witnessed, an anemone walk past here and get sucked into those holes, or its tentacles get sucked up to the point to where, I had to use a razor blade to cut it loose. I witnessed, the shells from shrimp molting getting sucked in. And even worse, all the detritus, sand, anything in the water column that's floating basically gets sucked through these holes and bypasses all my filtration and just lands in my sump. So with that being said, JBJ design flaw number 1, should have never put these holes in there. It's just setting us up for failure, and pretty much makes me have a permanent routine of having to siphon out my sump every freaking time to kind of fight this buildup from happening. So FYI, JBJ owners, beware of these holes. Do something about it to begin with, or forever, hold your peace. So water change is complete. Depending on where I start, if I siphon my sand bed, I dump the water back in my display. But if I didn't start my sand bed, I usually dump the water in the sump. That way I don't have to put my hands in the tank. Trust me guys, the less you put your hands in the tank, the better. And I try to avoid it on water changes. Now for those wondering, what do you do with the old tank water? Well, normally I just pour it down the toilet. But if I have a situation where I need to clean some equipment, or, clean out my biomedia, skimmer, anything else, I just use the old tank water. So in this situation, cleaning out the algae scrubber. Now I did speed this video up for time's sake. Trust me, I'm not going hyperspeed cleaning this box. I'm not in that big of a hurry. Now I will say it's growing in there pretty thick, so it's a little tough getting off at first with this toothbrush, but eventually it starts letting go and it gets easier as you go. Now I do focus on 2 main areas. First being the LED light. Make sure you got to keep that clean because the light source is its life source, right? And then I also clean the area where the air flows into the box. Other than that, it's just open season. Making sure I don't over clean the box because I do have to leave it seated to where the algae can grow back. Keep in mind, purpose of an algae scrubber for anyone new, it actually grows algae on purpose in this box, and doing so, it absorbs any phosphates, nitrates, nutrients that feed the algae, and then once you clean it from the box, it essentially exports it from your tank. So I'm going to cover this in a little more detail in my next update. Got a new plan for this algae scrubber. We're really going to push it to the limits and actually have a better test kit coming to where we can track it better. So stay tuned. I promise I'll keep you guys updated. but I'm not going to say much more about it this time. So we got everything back in the sump running just like normal. Now I know I didn't cover cleaning the skimmer and the reactor, but honestly, that's really simple. I just take a toothbrush and clean that cup out. Not really much to show, but I just want to give you guys an idea. Now if you take a look, notice the reactor has nothing in it. We're going to cover that more in my next update. I got a new plan, as I said, but I'm not going to share it now because this video is just for maintenance, right? But the update's coming soon, I promise you. But that's pretty much going to wrap this up. So hopefully this video helped anyone with an all-in-one tank, or anyone new in the hobby just curious on what I have to do to keep my tank as clean as I keep it. Now keep in mind, I didn't break down every single thing and clean every single thing. That's something for another video, right? But I'll promise you I'll record it and try to document it and share that result with you as well. But other than that, we're gonna keep it moving, get you guys on your way. So as always, hey, you guys like, comment, subscribe. You guys do what y'all do. Y'all be easy. Happy reefing.